After last week's gripping episode of inventory management, we're back to the much more mundane tasks of assaulting a Tal Shiar base and exploring ancient ruins while Tholians try to kill us. Ah well. As we've been helping build a Romulan Republic presence on their new homeworld of Dewa 3, now renamed Molrihan or New Romulus, it's become apparent through supplied surveillance and our own excursions that there is a strong Tal Shiar presence on the planet too. They must be operating from somewhere within reach of the fledgling capital. A Romulan surveyor contact lets us know that they've stumbled across such a base. Nestled within a nearby mountain canyon beyond the Vastam peaks to the east of our location lies a gathering of temporary Romulan Tal Shiar soldiers and equipment. It has remained undetected by scanners and sheltered from prying eyes by its natural cover. But its proximity to the staging area meant that it was only a matter of time before it was discovered. Enough cloak and daggers. We're going to raid that outpost and interfere as much as we can in their affairs for a change. As we make the long trek eastward, a sphere looms between two mountains, and it takes me a moment to realise that I'm looking at the rim of one of the planet's moons. Continuing our hike, we begin to encounter patrols of Romulans who appear to be dressed in Star Empire uniforms. We must be getting close to their compound. For a secretive organisation, they're not very good at blending in. Either they're so confident in their position that they risk open patrols, or they're unconcerned with our presence, but either way, we'll only engage them if they get in our way. Sneaking hurriedly past, we crest a ridge and come to a sudden halt. The valley below is crawling with Tal Shiar. I count 5 with a captured civilian in bindings. Well, we do need to head through here, but we are outnumbered, so I can call in reinforcements from the armiger in orbit. Springing into action with the decisive and necessary combat roll, we launch our attack from the high ground. Hopefully we can take them out before they get a chance to signal our approach to their base. We rescue this trapped civilian, but cannot accompany him to safety as we have a mission to accomplish, and now, with the patrol missing, it's only a matter of time before the Tal Shiar realise something's up. It's also a good idea to use this opportunity to check in with any outlying Republic survey stations we find, and log ourselves with the transporter network there, so that we can return to these areas if necessary, otherwise we're going to have to hike out of here every time. Originally, these missions we're undertaking today were locked behind a progression system of reputation with New Romulus. However, they've been opened up to all players so they can blitz through the story and get to the later content in the game, something common to the MMO genre. While here, however, a Tal Shiar patrol attacks us from behind and we've got to drive them away. As this is the closest point to the mountain pass, it's likely that this is the actual survey team that discovered the Tal Shiar, and it must have been recent or they would have been driven off by now. Assembling an assault team, we enter the overshadowed rocky canyon to drive out the enemy encampment. It doesn't take us long to encounter the outermost patrol, a relatively undersized party of 3 soldiers who go down quickly enough, but it's clear that we have the right place, and now they seem to be aware of our presence.
Take a squad and secure the area.
It seems that now with closer proximity to their compound we're able to intercept their comms. Observing from a distance we can see numerous structures, cargo pods and soldiers. It looks like they were in the midst of loading up. I'd speculate that they were moving out rather than setting up because of the expansion of the Republic's territory on the planet's surface. While we're here, our objectives actualise from simply causing mayhem, and we can see exactly what we can do. Neutralise patrols, free captives, download and recover information, and mess with any delicate looking equipment like that tower over there. Turns out that this antenna is a communications array. Shame disabling it does nothing to stop the influx of inane chatter we're picking up over comms. We can also access a terminal here and recover some stolen data, as well as free the first of 4 missing persons.
Reports of intruders in the base.
Now we can proceed onwards and upwards, having dealt with another patrol that would have been guarding this pass when they unexpectedly emerged earlier in this confrontation. What we discover appears to be the barracks of the Tal Shiar. There are 5 tents, each looking able to accommodate about 20 Tal Shiar, so there must be at least 100 deployed across the planet from this base camp alone. As for these barriers, I think they're a type of rockfall mesh designed to stop any unwanted debris from sliding down a mountainside and injuring or damaging the camps. We wouldn't want that. That's our job.
This planet smells. It must be Tholians.
Short and sweet. So far, assaulting the encampments with overwhelming force has been enough to sustain our momentum, but the danger of committing everything to the initial push is that we don't have anything in reserve for a prolonged encounter, and if they weather our attacks, then our advance could falter. As before, we reclaim some stolen data by erasing their copy and free some more captives left unceremoniously in the dirt. Oh, another patrol. Hi. Now, it may look like I'm hiding behind this person as a shield, but okay, now we're firing. Amid the chaos of the attack, a green-hued mist falls from the sky and disperses harmlessly around the area. That looked an awful lot like Tholian radiation, in which case it's good I wasn't caught in there. Tholian radiation was the same particle weapon that Shinzon was so fond of that seems to almost calcify organic matter. Sure enough, it looks as if one of the officers deployed a Tholian Seeker drone that must have been the one to set off the explosion. Looks like the fight took its toll on my crew, so we'll just have to pause for a minute to get them patched up. Once recovered, we press on.
Your continued resistance is forcing me to take direct action. This is regrettable, but your deaths will pave the way to a new Romulan star empire. One controlled by the Tal Shiar.
So, whoever that was, they seem to be the ones pulling the strings for the Tal Shiar, and they've also allied themselves with the Herodian? Why are there Herodian here? We've established that they were drawn here by Sela during her exile, where she may have travelled as far as the Delta Beta border and secured some new allies, but the Herodian only care about hunting. Questions to be answered in a minute. These Herodian are more formidable than the Tal Shiar patrols, and it's wise not to advance too far into the final compound, as you risk drawing the ire of the Romulan commander and his team as well as the Herodians, which can prove to be a bit overwhelming. Once recovered, however, we engage in the final firefight against the commander, identifying himself as Ruul, as well as several more Herodian stalkers who seem ready to fight to the death. We are aiming, however, to take Ruul alive, as his intel could prove immensely valuable. Plasma grenade away, he says as he falls. As final words go, I've heard better. We examine this generator, and soon Nulia learns that it is emitting a subspace scattering field, similar to a Romulan cloaking device but without the light-bending properties, the practical effect of which is that it masks the presence of the technologies within this canyon, and is the reason that this outpost remained undetected for as long as it has, despite its proximity to the Republic. It seems that this entire compound was only a temporary setup anyway, with the Tal Shiar on the cusp of leaving. They obviously overestimated their chances of driving off the Republic in building a base so close to them in the first place, and committing so many resources to it after it was discovered. Ruul himself declared that he was intervening directly to stop our advance, but this had to be a blatant lie born on hubris. He couldn't have just arrived, we'd have seen his shuttle, so he was here all along. A tactical error of huge proportions, stationing your most critical officer at the point closest to your enemy? Well done. If I had to guess, They set up this post early on in New Romulus's formation, only a few weeks ago, and then proceeded to get trapped by a Republic expanding faster than they thought. If so, a complete lack of foresight. When we have completed this mission, however, we receive a curious message.
I've received another recording, and I think it's connected to the prior Tal Shiar one. I'd like for you to follow up and track down any information related.
This has us return to the shuttlecraft to ransack its databanks. You can actually skip Mountain Pass as a mission, then pick up secret shuttle codes, and then Mountain Base to complete both objectives concurrently.
I visited Tan for the third and final time, Commander. He still worships the Vulcan's memory. He will not see reason. He is only one man, however. If misfortune were to befall him, perhaps his replacement would be more accommodating.
The Herodian will be
I have no
well rewarded
interest
for
in
your
making
assistance.
martyrs, Sub-Commander. Attacking Titan directly would be yet another distraction from the real issues on this world. In this case, some assistance may be required. You understand the situation? Titan and his people are intractable. I need you to show them the error of their ways.
I don't need someone like you to explain things.
Defending the array is our
Do you
top
remember
priority.
our agreement?
Continue to assist us, and you'll have your pick of the hunting grounds. The best and most powerful trophies will be yours.
I expect something better than that grunting beast by the river.
Of course.
It is done. Starfleet and the Klingons will be our prey. Once they are gone, Titan and his followers will be yours to command.
So this explains how the Herodian got involved. In unfamiliar territory they allied themselves with the Tal Shiar through Sealer, in the hopes of hunting the powers of this end of the galaxy. I'm beginning to suspect that those Herodian mercenaries, hired by Madran last part, were not in fact mercenaries, but supplied to him by the Tal Shiar to keep an eye on him, under the pretense of hired muscle. We can also find a log that contains Ruul's background. It seems that Colonel Hakeev, the former head of the Tal Shiar, who is responsible for it resorting to Borg technology and experimentation with Iconians, wrote to Commander Ruul before the attack on Breyer 3. Breyer 3 saw Mark Hale and a Starfleet assault team alongside the Romulans breach the former resort world and attempt to apprehend Hakeev. He admits that this is likely to be the Tal Shiar's darkest hour, and he even is unsure if the Empress, Sealer, will support him, as they have long been at odds with the future of the Empire. He claims that a darkness is coming and that we can either embrace it or surrender to oblivion. Fully aware of the dwindling state of the Tal Shiar after the Klingons and Federation allied themselves with the New Republic, he issues Commander Ruul the objective to return to the shadows, undo the bold and visible presence of Hakeev's special forces, and erect a scattering field to mask their presence. So yeah, this base was set up not too long ago then, sometime after Breyer 3. Finally, another interesting statement again about demons, and it alludes to a greater power at play before turning his authority over to Commander Ruul. Clearly, Ruul thought that the best course was to now try to influence the Republic through Titan, but ran out of time and penned in on his enemy's territory and trying to secure alliances based on someone else's promises. With the Tal Shiar presence unearthed and driven out at last, we can proceed on to the next crisis of the day. As before, while we're out and about aiding the Romulan survey teams, we receive word that a science team investigating the ruins to the south have a missing person and are requesting aid to locate them. These two missions, Overgrown Caves and Web Access, are once again the same mission with different objectives, so we're going to address them both at the same time. The scientists themselves are holed up in a cave system at the Paehhos Crater, so that is where we are headed. It's, once again, quite a hike through the Doan jungle, but I don't mind the reprieve from fighting. Along the way we can converse with the science teams and learn of the local wildlife, as well as pass some interesting interactions, such as a wounded Herodian being patched up by Republic medics. Hopefully some agreement can be reached with the Herodian now that they're apart from the Tal Shiar. In order to reach the caves, we're going to have to pass through the Isha forest and then continue southeast. This forest contains a number of wild animals that should be able to be left alone provided we keep our distance, and there are numerous ruins among the trees that have crumbled and been reclaimed to nature's relentless advance. A reminder that this planet has a much richer history than the one being built on its surface today. We descend the lip of the crater, so overgrown and eroded with time that it's easy not to notice it as the site of some ancient impact, and check in with the local surveyor's outpost. Heading on into the cave, flanked by 2 guards, we are greeted with a darkened cloister of rock illuminated by the glows of some unique flora. This is probably my favourite mission so far in terms of how it looks, with a mixture of neon pinks and pale natural yellows creating a very surreal and otherworldly feel to the cave network. The trail persists for some time with all sorts of glowing petals and luminous bulbs, that artificial light sources are few and far between. Even some greenery is sustained in here somehow, perhaps subsisting on the energy produced by these plants. It opens up into a cavern where the roots from trees above us pierce the ceiling to twine about the area and entangle the glowing clusters of a myriad of plants, creating a feast of colour.
I'm very glad you could take time to assist us. We've been having some strange occurrences lately. Noises we can't identify are being heard deep in the caves, and our supplies keep disappearing. One of my scientists volunteered to investigate, and he hasn't returned. Would you be willing to look for him? Any scans you could take when you're in the caves would also be very helpful.
So this sounds simple enough, and we'll use the opportunity to collect more data for the researchers too. So let's familiarise ourselves with the sorts of things they're looking for. This odd stack of 4 cubes arranged as a pillar seems to be one of the artefacts that the scientists wish to investigate, claiming them to be of alien origin, perhaps created by the ancestors of the Romulans, or even the Tholians some 150 to 200,000 years ago. As for the strange sounds, I'd pose the question, wild animals? But these people have been exploring for longer than we have and are likely pretty familiar with the native wildlife, so let's proceed, but cautiously. Heading deeper into the caves, we sight movement up ahead. It looks like some form of Day 1 anthropod. I'd prefer not to attack them if we can help it, but we will need to get past them to go deeper into these tunnels. As we collect some more readings, however, they do attack us and we're forced to drive them off. I'll have to ask this science team why they seemed beneath the anthropod's notice. Heading even deeper, we encounter more of these critters and startle me somewhat, and we have to put them out of action. I'm going to say we stunned them, as the alternative is that we invaded their home and killed them all for no reason, and we have no idea how upsetting that could be to the ecosystem here. So, 4 stunned scorpions later, we're safe to move on once again. Oh, that screech just there, that wasn't from one of these creatures. So what could produce that sound? This must be the noises the researchers were talking about. As we explore the chamber, however, we notice something strange about a wall. That is, that it's not a wall. Some form of holographic matrix is creating an illusion of a solid rock face, but it fades as we close in. This cannot be a natural creation, and I doubt that the survey team planted it here. Perhaps our missing scientist noticed the same thing and went on ahead into the concealed passage just beyond. Weapons drawn, we proceed into the previously hidden tunnels. Well, the rock face closes behind us, but it hasn't sealed us in, so the researcher could have returned. Therefore something else prevented him from doing so. Rounding the corner we get our second sign of inhabitants. A walled-off field blocks the passage ahead. It looks to be not a force field in the traditional sense, but a series of interlaced tractor beams to create a mesh wall. Only one species I know of has such advanced tractor technology. We disable the emitter that was on this side and see the armoured exoskeleton power frame of a Tholian.
I managed to clear up some of the interference. I am detecting Tholian life signs ahead of your coordinates. Please proceed with caution.
Oh, there are Tholians here. Oh, good job you told me. I didn't notice. Did you hear that, guys? There are Tholians in here. Look, I'm not about to start shooting without ascertaining what they're up to, so let's look at some of the equipment that they've set up. So it looks like they're spreading thoron particles to interfere with our scanning equipment. Much as with the Tal Shiar scattering field, they're trying to mask their location from the Republic. But before we can learn further from their equipment, we are attacked by the lone Tholian who had wandered back into the cave that we were in. Taking the poor ensign down, we move to investigate a mass of webbing on the far side of the cave and find trapped within our missing scientist. Getting him out could be a delicate operation. Hail smash! He claims to have been unaware of the Tholian presence and blacked out from an attack. We advise him to head back the way that we came from, where it's still safe, but we decide to press on. We need to uncover what the Tholians are up to. From this console, my science officer is able to translate some of the text to reveal that the Tholians are studying the Daewans and how they relate to the Iconians. Alright, so that's why they are here, but no need to be so secretive about it. Surely we'd all be interested in this research. Then again, Tholians are notoriously hostile to humanoid life. We call in some more reinforcements and move in to seize this next chamber. There were reports from the initial team of Romulans who discovered this planet that there was a mild Tholian presence on Daewa 3, but they thought they'd driven them off. Clearly they were either incorrect or the Tholians have a way of getting in undetected. The Tholian tractor beam technology is so advanced that they can use it to create all sorts of traps and tools, even deploying mini cages around crewmates to capture them in much the same way they do to spaceships. It seems that their projectile weapons are too a form of this technology, based on appearance alone, as their armoured and pressurised envirosuits emit the yellow webbed beams of a similar design. Looking around, we can learn that the Tholians here are even investigating and researching the foliage of this cave. Sox, my chief medical officer, suggests that the strange plants that are all throughout this cavern, supporting its microcosm of an ecosystem, might all be artificially engineered to provide sustenance for a subterranean population. At one point in Daewan's past, they did retreat underground, after their surface became unlivable. We might be seeing the descendants of their attempt to survive down here. We can also uncover a number of relics, such as this ancient stone tablet that provide backgrounds on the final events of the Daewan Society, as recapped a couple of parts ago in the history of Daewa 3. You can catalogue all the entries into a coherent tale. Naturally, it's only a matter of time in studying the Iconians that you gravitate towards their amazing gateway technology, and it seems this too piqued the interest of the Tholians. They have a great deal of technology at their disposal, but like any civilization, the Tholians are trying to find shortcuts to obtain more power. I'd say that the Federation preaches the merits of a slower evolution, but they also cut 20 years of development out by taking Admiral Janeway's future tech, so I guess Starfleet's just as guilty as all the rest. Ahead looms the final chamber, and in the centre of which a strange storm of an orb attracts our gaze. We prep ourselves for the final assault, as alongside several ensigns there is a Tholian lieutenant. We begin by deploying a smoke grenade to mask our entry and provide a small amount of cover from incoming fire. The smoke takes on a hellish hue as phaser fire lights it up, and when it all clears, the enemy's husks have been broken. However, the lull in fire is only temporary, as Tholian reinforcements appear out of nowhere with little warning. Two more lieutenants, ensigns and a powerfully large Tholian commander all enter the fray. The commander has a strong knockback blast, but it all can be weathered as a team. However, even that is not the end of it, as a Tholian captain beams in. The captain is the largest Tholian I've ever seen, and he packs a punch. Getting too close leads him to perform a stomp melee, but this isn't too damaging, so occasionally forcing him to trigger it might be a favourable tactic to allowing him the range. By far his most powerful ability is an AoE attack that can blast everything in front of him with massive damage. He is susceptible to knockdowns, however, which can buy you precious moments in dealing him damage. Other than that, however, this captain has a huge amount of health to wear down, but so long as you don't all group together or allow his shielding time to recharge, a sustained hail of explosives and fire should keep him contained. I actually found it a better tactic to keep moving around the captain at this stage because of his very powerful attack that can decimate your entire crew if you're all clustered together. With that beast down, we're free to look around this lab. The level of Tholian tech here suggests a prolonged period of stay, as opposed to the Tal Shiar's temporary accommodations. Alongside some more of these strange alien cubes, there are contained specimens of flora and cages for other occupants, as well as the strange portal in the middle of the room, which we're going to give a wide berth. We'll begin with this containment cell, and my medical officer informs me that they are trying to see if the local wildlife could survive an adaptation to a Tholian environment. Tholians live in extreme pressure and temperatures akin to a Class Y planet, a type of atmosphere that Starfleet colloquially calls demon. Suffice to say, terraforming a planet to Tholian standards would make it lethal to most other life. The panel on the other side contains readings of energy patterns present on Nukara Prime, another point of Tholian interest. The energy here is similar to Tholian interphasic rift experiments, which suggests that this strange apparatus may be for dimensional travel. And the final action is to shut down this crackling rift. This must have been how the Tholians were able to slip in and out of Dawa 3 without being detected. After they were chased out by the IRW'd error, the teams they had left on the surface were able to get their rifts stable enough to function like a transporter and bring in reinforcements to continue their research. The communications terminal here has a correspondence that we may find very valuable. So, the Tholians are indeed in search of artifacts pertaining to the Iconians, specifically the use of their gateway technology. What's more, I'm going to assume, was a Tholian queen, expressed an interest in the Azure Nebula, the termination point for a network of Borg subspace corridors, which the Tholians often make use of, even though it brings them into conflict with the Borg regularly. With this portal shut down, hopefully this puts an end to the Tholian interest in this system. If they want to continue their research, they can contact official channels and reach an accord with the Romulan Republic. They still consider us mammals to be inferior, however, so I doubt things will go that smoothly. As for trying to terraform the planet, that is a step too far, as it means possibly killing all of its inhabitants, and I don't think the native wildlife will adapt too well, as hardy as it is. Blurb. So today has been a successful couple of endeavours. We have removed 2 hostile threats from Dawa 3 and gone a great way in preserving the efforts of the Republic, Starfleet and the KDF. The Tal Shiar cannot have much life left in it, and the Tholians will have to conduct their efforts in the light. Datan's plan has been to unite the Romulans under the light, enough of secrets and schemes, and I can see the appeal in that. These missions were straightforward affairs of see a problem, fix the problem. Though both of these missions have strong ties to the Iconians, a trend that just won't go away. The Tholians are chasing technology and the Tal Shiar refer to a coming darkness that they must serve or risk being consigned to oblivion. The whisperings of Iconian involvement keep growing, but we've yet to see any concrete evidence of their return, only their technology being abused by current powers and vague references to demons behind the scenes. When we do dig, we seem to get distracted by Elarchi, Tholians and the Tal Shiar, and never to the source of all this strife. Still, we have work to do on New Romulus and we're almost done here, so I hope you'll join me next time for the continuing adventures of Captain Mark Hale, the crew of the USS Armiger, and the ever-growing narrative of Star Trek Online as we aid the Romulan Republic in building a home. Until then, I've been Rick, and I'll see you next time. Thanks again for watching, and goodbye.